majority, 53% of Americans, oppose allowing immigrants to receive government financial assistance and services. However, nearly as many, 47%, agree that they should be eligible. That's interesting. I'm not sure I understand it. So a majority, 53% of Americans, oppose allowing immigrants to receive government financial assistance and services. 47% agree that they should be eligible. Oh, I see. That's the two different sides of this. Okay. So it's almost half and half. First generation and second generation immigrants are most supportive of allowing immigrants to receive welfare benefits. However, 42% of native-born Americans who are not second-generation immigrants agree. Instead, a majority, 57%, oppose. Majority of Democrats favor allowing immigrants to receive financial assistance and services from the government, while 30% oppose, so that's 70 to 30. In contrast, majorities of independents and Republicans oppose, 41 and 22% support, respectively. Okay, 58% and 78% of independents and Republicans oppose, 41 and 22 support. All right. Opinions vary strikingly by ideology. Only 90% of staunch liberals support allowing immigrants to be eligible for welfare benefits, including 55% who strongly favor it. In contrast, 78% of staunch conservatives oppose it, including 53% who strongly oppose. There's a racial divide as well. A majority, 60% of white Americans oppose offering government assistance to immigrants. In contrast, majorities of Black Americans, Latino Americans, and Asian Americans support doing so. Some of this divide may be due to differences in immigration background. Among first-generation immigrants, majorities of white, 63%, Latino, 76%, and Asian, 68% immigrants support being allowed to receive welfare. This declines somewhat among the second generation, such that a majority of white second-generation immigrants oppose, 56%, and majorities of second-generation Latino and Asian, 70 and 59% respectively, support it. However, majorities oppose among white, Latino, and Asian native-born Americans who are not second-generation immigrants. The share of Black immigrants in the sample was too small to calculate and compare responses. Boy, we could talk about like each and every one of these things and really spend a lot of time thinking about why these various groups feel as they do. But this is really interesting to me. I'm hoping this is interesting to you because, I know anecdotally what people think. I know from listening to politicians rant about these things. I know from talking to my friends. I know from talking to people who work with immigrants, people who are immigrants, and so on and so forth. I mean, I know a lot of these different opinions, but it's interesting that somebody went out and asked a whole bunch of people and got a lot of different responses to this. So that you can get a kind of a better idea generally what people are thinking about this stuff. So next we have why Americans oppose welfare services for immigrants. Why do Americans oppose allowing immigrants to receive government financial assistance and services? We asked them. 57% said they oppose such assistance primarily because they believe it would raise the taxes of American-born citizens. So I don't want to have to pay for it. 43% oppose primarily because they feel it would reduce the government assistance available to American-born citizens. So the majority say, I don't want to pay more taxes. It costs me more money. And then a slightly smaller group says, I think it would be bad because it decreases the amount of assistance that citizens, people who are already citizens, can receive. Democrats and Republicans who oppose offering government financial assistance to immigrants have different reasons for doing so. Among Democrats, a majority, 52%, see such assistance as reducing the government services that are available to American-born citizens. In contrast, majorities of Republicans, 62%, and independents, 56%, oppose because they worry it will increase taxes. A majority of Americans believe most immigrants receive some form of means-tested government welfare assistance. This finding stands regardless of whether the question asks about immigrants specifically or about immigrant households. The survey randomly divided respondents into two groups. The first group was asked to estimate about how many immigrants receive some form of means-tested welfare assistance. Among this group, 57% estimated that half or more of immigrants receive assistance. The second group was asked how many immigrant households they estimate receive some form of assistance. 54% said half or more. Given the margin of error of the two samples, these responses are statistically equivalent. This demonstrates that most Americans do not distinguish between immigrants who may receive government assistance and immigrants' U.S.-born dependent children who may receive assistance. While U.S.-born children are not immigrants, because the assistance is going to an immigrant household, others may perceive this as immigrants receiving welfare benefits. This matters because immigration researchers differ in how they measure actual welfare use. For instance, the Cato Institute researchers have found that first-generation immigrants use less welfare than native-born Americans. However, researchers at the Center for Immigration Studies found that non-citizen households, which include U.S.-born dependent children, receive government assistance at higher rates than other households. Public opinion may reflect welfare use by household rather than individual. Excuse me. Regardless of immigration background, Americans are not equally likely to perceive that half or more immigrant households receive some form of government assistance. 56% of first generation, 57% of second generation, and 54% of third generation and higher. Republicans, 78%, and independents, 59%, are much more likely than Democrats, 40%, to believe half or more immigrants receive some form of means-tested assistance. 72% say immigrants come to America to find jobs and improve their lives. And 27% say to obtain government services and welfare benefits. This is what I talk about all the time. So, sorry, I can't help but rant about this for a moment. The notion that someone is going to pack up their whole life and go to another country and start over from scratch so they can get government services and welfare benefits there is ludicrous. And if you are doing it, you really need it. So it's not that big a deal. Anyway, okay. I mean, U.S. really, really, really need it if you're going to travel hundreds, thousands of miles to some other country and start over from scratch just to get those benefits. You really need those benefits. It's not like, dude, I am just so bored working this job here. I could be making the same amount of money on welfare in America. You know what? I'm just going to go there. That's just ridiculous nonsense. It drives me crazy. Okay. Sorry. Immigrants and non-immigrants alike agree that the hope for a better life is the reason people move to the U.S. Majorities of partisans also agree, including 86% of Democrats, 71% of independents, and 57% of Republicans. Although a majority of Republicans agree, they are much more likely than Democrats to believe immigrants come primarily to obtain government services and assistance. Hardcore restrictionists who want to decrease immigration a lot stand out with a majority, 57%, who perceive that immigrants come to obtain government services rather than jobs. However, a majority of lukewarm restrictionists who want to decrease immigration somewhat think that the real reason immigrants come is hope for a better life. Majorities of both first-generation immigrants, second generation, and third generation and higher believe that immigrants should make their own way without government assistance. About a third believe the government should provide immigrants with the things that they need. Attitudes have more to do with political ideology than immigration background. A majority of Democrats believe that the government should provide immigrants with the things that they need. In contrast, majorities of independents and Republicans, 62% and 86%, think immigrants should make their own way without government assistance. Majorities of white, 69%, Latino, 56%, and Asian, 53%, Americans believe immigrants should make their own way, while a majority, 59%, of black Americans believe government should provide for needs. Section 3. Why Americans think what they do about immigration. Why don't more people support more immigration? Many economists across the political spectrum argue that immigration greatly benefits a country's economy and therefore it should be expanded. Nevertheless, survey research shows that most Americans want to keep immigration levels the same or lowered. For this reason, the survey report pays careful attention to understanding why many Americans are reluctant to expand immigration. Pre-fielding interviews and research identified a variety of potential explanations that were included on the survey and analyzed in this section. Here we seek to understand the complex attitudes Americans have toward immigration by examining proposed theories for why people welcome or oppose more immigration. 42% say immigration has been mainly good for the U.S. 42% say it's both good and bad. Few Americans want to shut down the border outright, but there isn't widespread support for increasing immigration either. Americans appear to have mixed feelings about immigration because many perceive both benefits and costs associated with it. Part of the reason may be that while 42% of Americans say immigration has been mainly good for America, another 42% say it has been equally good and bad. Notably, only 16% say it has been mainly bad. So what do Americans believe are the benefits and costs? 72% say immigrants come to improve their lives, not obtain government services. 69% say immigration over time contributes to more economic growth. 67% have positive views of immigrants. 61% say immigration enriches American culture and values. 58% say immigrants strengthen our country because of their hard work and talents. 49% say immigration increases diversity of thought. 48% agree the U.S. needs immigration to remain competitive in the global economy. 48% say immigration enriches U.S. culture with new customs and food. 46% say immigration tends to be more entrepreneurial, immigrants tend to be more entrepreneurial and start businesses. And 41% say immigration grows the economy. The public believes most immigrants come to the U.S. to improve their lives. Only 27% believe immigrants come to obtain government services and welfare. Most believe immigrants enrich American culture and values, as do a majority. This is written in a strange way. Most believe immigrants enrich American culture and values, as do a majority of Democrats, 79%, and pluralities of independents, 49%, and Republicans, 43%. Most, 58%, also perceive immigrants as strengthening the country with hard work and talent, including an overwhelming majority of Democrats, 81%, as well as 45% of independents and 35% of Republicans. Nearly half of Americans also believe immigration increases the diversity of thought, brings delicious new foods, and grows the economy. Democrats are even more likely to think immigration improves viewpoint diversity, food, and the economy. More than a third of Republicans and independents agree immigration improves diversity of thought and cuisine. Only 21% of Republicans think immigration helps the economy. 34% of independents agree. Smaller shares of Americans perceive other benefits of immigration, such as helping immigrants in need or reducing the price of services like childcare and construction. Few think immigration increases American wages. Excuse me. Given the many advantages Americans associate with immigration, why do only 29% want to increase it and a third want to decrease it? This next section will investigate what fears some Americans associate with immigration. We asked about a wide range of potential fears that were raised during pre-survey interviews and research to allow researchers to dig deeper to examine what fears might matter most and for which individuals. 59% worry immigration could lead to too many demands on government services. 55% say discrimination against white Americans could happen over time, asked among non-immigrant white Americans. 55% worry immigration could lead to less social cohesion and national unity. 51% worry immigration over time could reduce jobs available. 51% believe that unauthorized immigrants vote in elections. 47% worry immigration increases the risk of terrorism a lot, or somewhat. 41% of white Americans worry immigration will cause them to become a minority in the U.S. And we know that the reason for that is that we don't treat minorities very well here, do we? Yeah. Otherwise, why would you worry about it? 39% say immigrants today come from cultures different from previous immigrants and have more trouble assimilating. 33% worry they will no longer feel at home in the country if immigration increases. 34% worry immigration reduces wages. A third worry immigration burdens public schools and increases crime. 32% say they feel uncomfortable when they hear people speaking a language other than English in public places. 29% say they are worried immigrants are replacing America's ethnic background. 28% worry immigration will change American culture. And 27% worry immigration raises costs of housing and health care. There are 5 primary types of concerns Americans expressed about immigration: economic, cultural, racial or ethno-cultural, crime and violence related, and political. Nearly 6 in 10 Americans are concerned that immigration over time could lead to too many demands on government services. A majority also fear that immigration over time could reduce the jobs available for everyone, and about half believe that immigration currently burdens government welfare programs. Concerns about welfare use comes in 2 forms, as we noted earlier. Among those opposed to providing government assistance to immigrants, 57% oppose it because they worry it will raise their taxes, but a sizable share oppose it because they worry fewer government services will be available to American-born citizens. Aside from concern about welfare services, about a third of Americans worry that immigration could reduce wages and jobs for Americans and burden public schools, and worry it will increase the cost of housing and health care. As you might imagine, immigration restrictionists are far more concerned about these issues. 85% worry that immigration over time will lead to too many demands on government services. And 71% worry that it eventually could reduce jobs available for everyone. 71% also worry that immigration today burdens government welfare programs. 63% think it reduces wages, and 59% think it burdens public schools. Conversely, far fewer immigration expanders have these economic concerns. Almost a third say immigration could lead to too many demands on government services. About a third say this, or reduce jobs. Few think immigration burdens government welfare programs or reduces wages or burdens public school. Half of Americans believe that immigrants have retained their own cultures and values, and 50% believe that they adopted essential American culture when they got here. However, a majority say they prefer a country in which most people share an essential American culture. These numbers are akin to the 55% who worry that immigration over time could cause there to be less social cohesion and national unity. 45% are not concerned about cohesion. Immigration restrictionists are more likely to perceive that immigrants over the past 20 years have largely retained their own cultures and values, while 83% of restrictionists prefer a country with a shared culture and values. Although consistent with these numbers, 78% of restrictionists worry about societal unity and cohesion. Immigration expanders view things differently. 70% perceive immigrants have adopted essential American culture, but expanders don't worry too much about that to begin with, because most, 60%, prefer a country made up of different cultures and values that change as new people arrive, as opposed to wanting a shared essential culture. A little more than a third, 39%, of Americans also perceive that immigrants come from cultures very different from previous immigrants and have more trouble assimilating to the American way of life. About a quarter, 29%, disagree, and another third, 32%, don't have an opinion either way. A majority of immigration restrictionists perceive, in contrast to 31% of expanders, that recent immigration differs from immigration in the past. About a third of respondents share that they feel uncomfortable when they hear people speaking a language other than English in public places, and they don't understand what's being said. Is it any of your business? Yeah, I was listening to your conversation just now, and, come on. Anyway, a plurality, however, do not have this concern, while 22% have no opinion. Less than half of immigration restrictionists express this discomfort, although they are about twice as likely to agree as expanders. About a quarter of Americans say they are worried that immigration will change American culture. On the other hand, nearly half say they think it would be good for immigration to influence American culture at least a little or a lot. About another quarter think immigration does not influence American culture. Thus, most people are not actively worried that immigration will change the culture, and a plurality thinks some change is good. This is a concern that resonates deeply with people who want to limit immigration. A majority of immigration restrictionists, or 58%, are actively worried that immigration is changing the American culture to which they are attached. Only about a quarter think it would be good for immigration to change the culture, and about a fifth don't think that immigration is causing cultural change. In contrast, only 11% of immigration expanders are worried about cultural change. Instead, 68% think it would be good for immigration to change the culture at least a little, and 46% or even a lot, 22%. Change it a little, 46%, or even a lot, 22%. Sorry, this really, it's not written to be read like this. About a fifth don't think immigration impacts culture. A third of Americans worry that immigrants will become so numerous that the respondent will no longer feel at home in his or her own country. Wow. However, a plurality does not have this concern, and 21% aren't sure either way. A majority of immigration restrictionists, 57%, but only 15% of immigration expanders also worry about no longer feeling at home in the U.S. Okay. Among white Americans who are not immigrants, a little less than half say they worry immigrants will become so numerous that the respondent will become a minority in his or her own country. Perhaps they are afraid of facing the same obstacle minorities in this country currently face. That's funny to see that in here. Usually Never mind. That's just one of those things that's like, most of us are aware of the problem, saying that they are, that some people say they fear they will become a minority. It's like, why, if that's a problem, then maybe you should rethink the way you treat minorities. Anyway, it's just funny to read it in here. 55% think immigration over time could cause discrimination against white people to increase. Yeah, there's a lot of discrimination against white people, that's for sure. Concerns about becoming a minority are salient issue for immigration restrictionists. 69% worry about becoming a minority in the country, and 82% fear that over time, discrimination against white Americans could increase. Among immigration expanders, 13% worry about becoming a racial minority, and 33% think discrimination against white Americans could increase with immigration over time. About a quarter of Americans express worry that immigrants are replacing America's ethnic background. What does that even mean? A plurality disagrees, and a quarter have no opinion. 51% of immigration restrictionists agree they are worried about this, compared to 17% of immigration expanders and 19% of maintainers. The survey also used a common political science research technique that asked respondents to use a feelings thermometer to express how they feel toward Black, white, Latino, and Asian Americans. While large majorities of Americans express favorable attitudes toward all groups, there is a subset who express negative attitudes. Unfavorable attitudes expressed among restrictionists are as follows: 8% for white Americans, 17% for Black Americans, 20% for Latino Americans, and 19% for Asian Americans. The pattern was somewhat reversed among immigration expanders. Unfavorable attitudes expressed among expanders are as follows: 21% for white Americans, 13% for Black Americans, 11% for Latino Americans, and 14% for Asian Americans. A third of Americans believe that immigration increases crime, and 47% believe it elevates the risk of terrorism at least somewhat. When asked how much it increases terrorism risk, 18% say a lot, 29% say somewhat, 20% say slightly, and 33% say it does not significantly increase the risk. Nearly two-thirds of immigration restrictionists believe that immigration increases crime, and 74% think it increases terrorism risk at least somewhat, compared to 9% and 25% of expanders, respectively. Among Republicans, 55% think immigration increases crime, and 71% think it at least somewhat increases the risk of terrorism. In contrast, 14% of Democrats think immigration increases crime, and 27% think it increases terrorism risk. Well, I've run out of time again, but there's still more to this, and I think I'm just going to keep going on it next time, because this is pretty useful, and there's a lot of information here that I think we can use. But anyway, I have no more time for today, so I will let you go. But you have been listening to CU Immigration here on WRFU LP 104.5 FM and UPTV, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.